Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We are here in our sanctuary. We're missing Ken or Kathy this evening. She's just a little bit under the weather. Nothing terrible. But during these days, we take every precaution possible and try and keep everybody safe. And to be honest, we missed Noah Fromson, so it's nice to have Noah back, who also has a little bit of a bum foot, so you'll see him sitting this evening. But other than that, the world is great, other than those two things. And we're here to welcome Shabbat with you. And so we invite you to gather your candles nearby and to join us in the candle blessings as we pray that these Shabbat candles give light to all of us, all who behold them, all whom we love. May their brightness remind us of the generations of our people who've kindled light, so that we in our day can be among those who kindle light as well. Please light your candles with us.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Take this time to take a deep breath, to walk back through this first week of this new year, to remember where we've been, people we celebrated with, perhaps as we've had so many people whom we've known as I talk with people every day, to say how many people we've known who have found themselves to have COVID, especially those vaccinated, not being so ill, but the surprise of the people whom we talked with this week who had that scare of being ill. We think back through this week, we take a deep breath, humble ourselves before this year, before life, as we enter into this Shabbat and prayers for peace. Page 20, we welcome Shabbat, the words of Lecha Dodi, and we'll invite you to stand during the last stanza as we welcome Shabbat into this week and into our homes. Please join us, page 20.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad, hishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'lechila. Lecha Dodi Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha, ki hi mebor habracha, merosh mikedem nesuha, sof ma'aseh b'mashavat chila. Lecha Dodi Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki va'orech u'mi uri shir daberi, kavod Adonai ala yichnita. Lecha dodi dodi, lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikavela, lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikavela.
Please rise and face the entrance to your home.
Bohi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam besimcha ufetzola, Toch emunei am segula, Bohi chala, Lecha dodi dodi, Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikavela, lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikavela.
Page 26 in our prayer books, Hatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'almad yivirach chiruteh ve'amlich malchuteh, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho bet Yisrael, bagala uv'izman kariv, ve'imeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach, le'alam ulal me'amaya, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitbar, v'yitroman, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha berichu, le'elam mincho birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma, ve'imeru, amen.
Please rise, page 28 for our Baruch.
Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach ve'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach ve'olam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chochma poteach sha'arim uvitvuna meshane itim umachalif et hazmanim umsader et hakochavim b'mishmoroteim barakia kirtzono. God, as we see the world change and yet stay the same, may we find that those struggles that we face, that we can turn them into blessings. And may we find that those parts of our world that change before us, that too is a change that we can adapt, that we can adopt, that we can make into something holy. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, God, who allows us to take this moment as day turns to night and make it a blessing. The words of Ahavat Olam, page 32.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavita, Amcha ahavita. Torah u'mitzvot Otanu limadita. Al Kain Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu v'kumenu nasiach b'chukecha v'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha u'mitzvotecha leolam va'ed. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Baruch Ata Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema, page 34 and 35.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadevarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'leftecha avaderech u'shofecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha Leman tizkeru ve'asitem et chol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim elolechem Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim leot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
In our Torah this week, we are moving towards that time, the end of the plagues and the beginning of the journey into the Exodus. And next week, God willing, we will be back with you as our congregation into our sanctuary, as we'll share the Song of the Sea, the moment at which the Israelites realized that they were a unified people and marched through the Sea of Reeds. As we do every Shabbat, we take this moment to remember that moment that we'll share next week. As we offer these words from our prayer book, page 39, in a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, we ask for the courage to say, God, that there is one God in heaven and earth, that the high heavens declare your glory, and the earth reveal justice and love. From that bondage in Egypt, the moment that we were delivered at Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. And so, inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, we overcame oppressive forces. Our failings may be many and our faults great, but it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. And so we continue to work for that day when the nations will be one, when they will be at peace, so that we can rejoice as our ancestors did, singing these words on the song of the shore of the sea. Page 40, Michamocha.
Adonai, mi kamocha nedar bakodesh, no ra tehi lodo sefele, no ra tehi sefele Malachutecha ra'u vanecha Bokerem livnei Moshe Ze Eli anu ve'amiru Ze Eli anu ve'amiru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed.
Page 43. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth, and prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Hashkivenu, page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom Ve'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. O Adonai, Amen, 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 Amen. O Adonai, Amen, Amen, Amen. Amen, 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 O Adonai.
Page 46 in our prayer books. Please rise for our Amidah.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor Vehanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Vekoneh Hakol, Vezocher Chastei Avot V'imaot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'nehem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshiach Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'azrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Le'oshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem emunato lishene afar michamocha ba'al gevurot umido melach melech ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע baruch ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. You can be seated if you'd like. Page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us, for all these and more. We offer our thanks with these words, Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulcha na'eh lahodot. Blessed are you, Adonai, for whom we give thanks for what is good in our lives. And for those in our world lacking that sense of goodness, those who face strife, for all of the pain and suffering that we see, we offer the word Shalom Rav as we hope over all of Israel and all the world that we find a sense of peace. Page 60.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. 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 Ki atahu melech ador lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech ador lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol ed ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם.
Take a moment for our own personal prayers.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Well, something that's become common practice in our house over these last couple of years is when there's a long period of time in which there's no school for our children and the world is quiet, we have to negotiate finding some sort of a series or some series of movies on TV that fit the likings of a 6-year-old and some 40-something adults. And so last week, my family landed on a series by National Geographic called Welcome to Earth. The 6-year-old loves it because it is filled with exotic animals from parts of the world that we'll probably never see. The 40-year-olds love it because the videography is amazing. The pictures are beautiful. And because Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, is the narrator. And so we're taken right back to the 90s and to our own childhood. Episode 3 is titled Mind the Swarm. It was our favorite, and in fact, Carrie, my wife, taught it to her middle schoolers the very next day, so amazed by the pictures and the message. It follows animals that move in groups. Wildebeests who move across Africa by the thousands that look like a line of ants from the sky, and yet they travel mile and mile and mile on the very same path. It shows bees the size of your finger who bundle together and can move together to shield off the largest mammal, becoming one massive unified army. It shows birds that fly in sync with each other so well, down to the very inch, that when you look up and see them in the sky, you think that must be a cloud above you, moving together as one piece. Smith explains that there are 3 simple rules that scientists have discovered that allow animals to successfully move as a swarm or as a herd. They are as follows. 1, don't get too far from your neighbor. 2, don't get too close to your neighbor. And 3, when your neighbor turns, you turn. These 3 rules, with the images of these amazing creations out in our world, easily put all of my family's mouth, all the people in my family, our mouths were open in awe of nature. And then later this week, we marked the 1-year anniversary of how dangerous a herd mentality can be among us as human beings. Our mouths were open again, as I know yours were, looking back on where we were a year ago, at a swarm, a herd, a mob mentality. On the one hand, it can be beautiful, and on the other hand, destructive. It seems that the formula that protects wild animals can become quite dangerous when applied to humans. And yet, I would argue that one of the great strengths of the Jewish people and of Judaism is the fact that we have for so long embraced a herd mentality. This week's Torah portion is the very beginning of our people's sense of being a large group moving together. And in fact, from this point forward in the Torah, that is what Torah is obsessed with. How do you take hundreds of thousands or even millions of people and make them feel and act in a way in which they are connected and see that what they can do can be holy? This week's Torah portion The plagues end in Egypt, and we read that the Israelites begin their journey. The 600,000 men, we're told, not including women and children, are joined by a mixed multitude that went with them, of livestock, of flocks, of herds, of people from other nations. And since that moment when we were freed from slavery, we've made our core narrative the narrative of marching together. And you could say we've done three things. We stayed close to our neighbor throughout the generations, working to be part of each other's lives. We've worked to stay far away from our neighbor, far enough so that we're not too much a part of their lives, that we allow them enough space within our group to still be who they are, to allow for a diversity of people. Within the Jewish people, that's meant Sephardic Jews and Ashkenazi Jews and gay Jews and straight Jews and all sorts of Jewish people, all sorts of opinions, as our favorite joke says, all sorts of expressions of our faith, close enough to know each other, far enough away to give each other space. And we can say, as Ruth said to Naomi, I will go where you go, your people will be my people, that when our neighbors amongst our tribe, our herd, have turned, that we have known that we have to turn too. Not just physically, perhaps not even just morally or philosophically. Certainly in our love for Israel and our care and concern for our people and the broad strokes of life, we have been unified. But so too, when you are moving as a herd, when life turns for someone, you notice it. When something hurts the group, you turn together, as we did when we watched what happened in Pittsburgh, as we have when we watch what happens in Israel. So too, when we've had our moments of joy and excitement when an Israeli wins the gold medal in the Olympics. We turn together at the biggest moments in life, and we remain a part of this group. The people who stormed the Capitol probably could have said some of those same things. They too were close to each other. There too was a diversity among them, and they acted as a unified group. So what separates us from them? What separates a good herd from a destructive herd among the human race? I think there's a fourth rule, a rule that separates that angry mob from a people trying to be a light unto the nations. When God spoke to the Israelites and asked them to leave Egypt after 430 years of slavery, God asked the Israelites to circumcise all of their sons. One account explains that immediately all the Israelites went out and circumcised their sons on the spot. It's what Aviva Zornberg, a great Torah commentator, refers to as spontaneous obedience. But a midrash takes issue. And I think the midrash is right, because I think it knows the Jewish people, and perhaps all people. We can't practice spontaneous obedience and remain a thoughtful group of people doing good. The midrash states that the people spoke up. They said, hold on a second. You want all of us to do this right now? We don't think so. And so God created Passover, the ritual, a ritual that brought the family together. First, around a sacrifice, which was normal during that time, and later, as we know, that became our Passover Seder, a ritual that brings us together and points us in the right direction. The fourth rule is, make sure you know where the herd is going. Don't practice spontaneous obedience. Don't walk blindly. The Sfat Emet, another great Torah commentator, says that the redemption from Egypt was a freeing from Mitzrayim, which translates literally to the narrow places, into an expansiveness in which all potential is realized. When we move together, we know that we share our strengths with each other. In fact, we empower each other. Just this morning, to show you the variety of teachers that I listen to, from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to the 19th century Sfat Emet to the spinning instructor on the Peloton screen. The Peloton instructor said wisely, as I was losing my breath, when you get stronger, you give someone else permission to be stronger. That is a herd mentality. It means that if I move with the group, then what I do matters. Whether I intend it to impact my neighbor or not, if I get stronger, I'm showing my neighbor that they can be stronger. If I face a struggle, a loss, a weak moment for myself, I look amongst the herd and I see that others have faced that loss also. And I see that I am never alone. Next week, in our Torah, we'll celebrate the Song of the Sea, the words of Micha Mocha, our moment of collective singing and dancing for our freedom. We've had that moment over and over and over again throughout history, and we never would have had such moments if we had not relied on the person next to us and the person next to them, and on all of the people who somehow were a part of this herd with which we journey. The collective human experience made up of thousands of individuals acting as one, relying on each other. It is one of our greatest strengths. It strengthens us. It saves us at times. But as we saw, as we were reminded this week, on the one-year anniversary of January 6th, when it follows ignorance, when it doesn't know where it is going, when it is simply obedient without thought, as our Jewish history knows well, it can be destructive. And so I ask you to ask yourself, as a people who have survived by the herd mentality, are you close enough to the herds that you belong to? Are you too close at times? Are you giving the people the space they need to be themselves, to not just be like you? And do you stick with them when times are tough? Or do you turn when life turns for them, showing them that they are not alone, showing them that you see them, you are with them, that you notice the way in which their life has taken a turn? And finally, can you take a step back and notice whether we are going in the right direction? May we continue to be there for each other, to strengthen each other, to move toward the promise of the future and be a part of the herd, the community that brings us to celebrate freedom as we will next week during Shabbat Shira. Shabbat Shalom. Turn now, as we face each other, looking towards those who are suffering this week, those who are in need of our prayers for healing. We turn to the words of our Misha Berach, page 253. We'll invite you to share the names of those whom you know are suffering in this moment as we wish for them a refuah shlema. We think of Susie Maidenberg, Shoshan, Marty Gersman, and Robert and Jenna, names that have been shared with us to share this evening. And we invite you to share the names of your loved ones as we share these words, our prayer for healing. Misha Berach.
Fran Wasserstrom. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, Amen.
Please rise, page 282 for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gidula leotzer v'reshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot v'hadama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamalchim, hakadosh baruch hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad. Ushemo echad.
Please be seated. We turn now, as we turn our thoughts and prayers towards those families who've recently lost someone, particularly those whom we've lost in this last month. Barak Armani, Samuel Clements, Mara Kay, Lola Ferron, Jerry Mallon, and Nancy Swedler Scalzitti. We add to their names Rochelle Ackman, Della Blumenstein, Marianne Bonus, Beatrice Cohen, Jesse Epstein, Isabella Führer, Jared Harlan Fagenbaum, Betty Friedman, Herman Friedman, Seymour G. Frost, Bernard Goldfarb, Bertram P. Green, Paula Greenberg, Benjamin Hopfman, Harry L. Jaffe, Hannah Kushkin, Rosa Leopold, Dr. Joseph Lushtag, Archie Levinson, Goldie Lipman, Robert Mintz, Gerald Meerman, Dr. Leon Moldavsky, Paula Nuringer, E. Kup Pliskin, Saul Reven, Bess Sakel, Rose Salzberg, Sarah Shear, Saul Schwartz, Miriam Weinberg, Anita Weiner, Harry Weisberger, Fabian S. Yellen, David Zaruk, and Moses Zub. If there are names you'd like to add, we invite you to share them now. Please rise, page 294, as we say together the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. B'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shmei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechamata. Damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Having honored those that we've loved and lost, we connect with those around us, whether we can do so physically or whether we think of all of those people we love, wherever they live. We offer the words of the priests, this blessing over each other.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai penav elecha v'chunecha.
May God's light shine upon you and be gracious unto you.
Yisa Adonai penav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace.
Amen.
Please join us in the words of Kiddush and Motzi as we bless the Shabbat. And for those at home who are ready and waiting, get ready to have our Shabbat meal.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha'shabbat. Amen. God, all this time singing with my mom, I should have picked a key that was lower and better for both of us. Anyway. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We thank Noah. Even though the key wasn't low enough. Always room for improvement.
Next time.
But it's wonderful to have Noah with us. Thank you for being here and helping to lead our service. Next week, we hope to be back in person, but we would tell you during these dynamic times, please check your weekly Thursday email. And in every Thursday email, it will say very clearly whether we are in person or whether we will have both in person and online services available. Tomorrow morning's Torah study is also online only. We hope you'll join us at 9 o'clock for that. We'll close with the words of Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu as we wish for a greater and greater sense of peace to find its way to our world.
My announcement is that I'm wearing a shirt that my grandpa got me, and I really like it, so thank you, Papa, and I love my dog, Louie. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Shabbat Shalom.